Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, Alex and I are going to be sharing our top 5 favorite themes for archetypes. So this isn't actually like how the archetype necessarily works, it's just sort of the idea behind it, like what it's based on, the lore sort of. So, you know, yeah, we're going to basically alternate. These are each of our top 5s. I've got mine on a note card, yes, it's on his phone. And at the end, we're going to ask you guys to check out our channel and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. So, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Alright, let's go.
Alright, so first of all, we have to get this one out the way because it's the one most of you would expect anyone to say. Heroes. I mean, let's face it, Heroes was the very first archetype. The first official archetype.
In a way, something like that.
Blue Eyes became one later, but that's not important.
Let's talk about Heroes a bit.
Yeah. Heroes are one of my favorites ever because, well, they're based off of heroes. What 10-year-old boy didn't love heroes?
Yeah.
Superheroes, Batman, Superman, Wolverine, Captain America, Spider-Man, Hulk.
You know, recently I found out that they are based on those. They're actually based on that.
Yeah, you know.
Like, no, I mean, I didn't know that at first. Like, at first, like, I just thought there's just some Yu-Gi-Oh monsters that are just heroes. But, like, then I found out that, like,
Bubbleman's based
they're actually, yeah, Bubbleman's Batman. What are the others?
I looked it up ahead of time, but let's see.
I'm sure Clayman's Hulk, huh?
Clayman has to be Hulk.
I mean, there's not much else.
There's not many other options for him. Or Juggernaut, actually. Juggernaut.
All I know is that they are based on stuff, so that is pretty neat. My number 5 is actually Ultra Athletes. And I say this mainly because, well, Yu-Gi-Oh's never actually had an archetype based off of athletes. Like, it's sort of a weird real-life thing to base an archetype on.
Yeah, you know, they've had a couple, like, you know, Battle Footballing was one thing they made based off of an athlete.
Yeah, like Battle and Boxes were kind of like a thing, but I feel like Ultra Athletes are cool because they kind of cover every sport because they have a midfielder and pitcher and... Is it pitcher or something?
I don't know, outplays not me.
Crap like that, I don't know. But, yeah.
I'm just glad they aren't based off of actual people, like UA Peyton Manning.
That actually could have been really funny. And I do like their field spells like a stadium, so it's like, you know, they're playing a sport. So I think that's pretty cool. That's my number 5.
Alright, let's hit it up. My number 4. 6 Samurais. Because, well, it's another one of those older archetypes that I liked as a kid. And that was because I didn't really know much about I still don't know much about Japanese culture, but the idea of samurai were really cool to me back then. And then they were color-coded like Power Rangers. That did it all for me right there.
It's a popular thing, isn't it, when they like base them off of...
Yeah, when you base them off people and make them humanoid, they almost always color-code them. And yeah. That's always fun.
You get like an attribute that fits. They did do that, didn't they? Because there was like one fire, one water, stuff like that. I don't know. Sort of.
Yeah, and they also color-coded them by person too.
Yeah, and they had weapons too. Like each one had its own weapon, I remember.
Yeah, and the weapon was indicative of the effect as well.
Sure. My number 4 is actually Shadolls. Kind of a weird pick because I know it's like a recent deck, so everybody sees it as like, oh, it's that meta deck. But the cool part about Shadolls to me is that they're just literally like they're kind of puppet versions of actual, you know, other decks, other archetypes, and that was cool to me. Because, like, Evil Storm technically was sort of like that, where, you know, they infected monsters with the L-Storm virus, and I thought that was neat. But I think Shadolls do it better, because I just like the idea of, like, instead of it being infected monsters...
Yeah, they have their own theme about them.
They're like replicas, and they all have that, like...
puppet look. That
whole, like, the purple strings on them, and it's weird that Winda somehow ended up being, like, a boss monster.
Yeah, that's weird. I like how, like, they all kind of look like they couldn't move without those strings. Yeah,
like they're actually just figurines, you know, dark figurines, but you know, Shadolls. Anyway, yeah, so Shadolls are my number 4.
Evil puppets and dolls. I can think of just movies based off that. Alright, let's see, what's up next? Number 3? Let's go with G-Nex. Now, G-Nex may not be everyone's favorite archetype ever. I mean, they've had some issues along the way.
I know spells and traps.
Yeah, I've always liked that in the first wave, they were based off of basically different types of energy, and for some reason it was all clean energy sources. So you had hydroelectric power, you had geothermal power, solar power. Those are your main three right there.
Yeah. I like that there's... It was a machine archetype that actually sort of felt like it had individual themes with each monster. Like, you know, there was Blast Fan, there was stuff like that. As opposed to like just, hey, here's Machina, we're just a kind of generic fighter robot type of thing. This is actually like these robots are sort of industrial type. I don't know if that makes sense. You kind of know what I mean. I mean, the archetype itself is but at least they gave it a good theme, if that's something.
Yeah, and I also liked GX Allies, which, I mean, they didn't have much of a theme as the normal GXs did, but if you look at them, you'll find a lot of them look like they came from Mega Man. It's kind of fun.
And my number 3 is Mortronics, so kind of similar vein machines. I like that Mortronics, basically their ability was that they morphed, like they changed forms, and it was reflected in their actual, you know, effects. So I like, you know, Mortronics cell phone, he's like a cell phone, and, you know, the Borden and the, what was some of the others?
We had
Kraken.
Kraken.
Yeah, there's a cameraman.
You said Borden already. Let's see, who else was there?
I just scoping.
Like, they did some of the weirdest transformations.
They recently made smartphone or smartphone or whatever. Vacuuming. Yeah, like I like the idea that like these monsters sort of morphed, and that along with them morphing, they gained different effects. So I didn't like that the morph mechanic was attack and defense, but I guess that's all Konami could really do, given, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they are cards.
Yeah. So.
I mean, do you want to turn upside down?
Yeah, so like tap them like those other card games.
Oh
do.
God, no.
But anyway, yeah. So Mortronics is my number 3.
All right, on to my number 2. Let's go with Gem Knights. Now, you can kind of see where I'm coming from with Gem Knights. I mean, they're knights, but they're also gemstones. And part of me likes them because they represent medieval knights. They are in armor, though they don't make much sense because they are also elementals and...
yeah, I mean, would you say they're cooler than Crystal Beasts?
Yeah, they're a bit
Crystal
cooler than
Beasts did
Crystal
it first, and they're animals that are based on gemstones.
And Noble Knights, not Noble Knights, Gem Knights also have the added advantage of being gemstones, which are shiny, and I love them.
They seem like they're kind of based on like more raw minerals, whereas the Crystal Beasts are more like processed jewelry type things.
You're definitely right, though.
Because like there's like tourmaline and like, you know,
zirconia,
that kind of stuff,
you know,
as opposed to Crystal Beasts are just like emerald tortoise or, you know,
yeah, you think they try
sapphire Pegasus. They're just processed jewels.
I mean, amethyst after all, you know.
My number 2 is Burning Abyss. So, for those of you who actually give any shred of a care about what archetypes are about, Burning Abyss is one of the most interesting archetypes because they are based off of the Inferno and Purgatorio, and basically that's Dante's Inferno for anybody who's like ignorant. Dante, the Xyz monster, is supposed to be like Dante, the actual traveler who goes through hell or the Burning Abyss, and Virgil is his guide, and the Burning Abyss monsters are actually based off of different spirits who are condemned to hell. I think it's cool because, hey, it's a neat thing that Yu-Gi-Oh's never really explored, and it's a TCG exclusive. That always helps.
Yeah, I've never seen them actually use a literary work for inspiration before.
Yeah, get more in the frame.
Oops,
They're like all the way over there. Yeah, what was that? Yeah, basically the monsters are based off of people that are mentioned in the book as being like condemned to hell, which I think is awesome. And even a few of the supports, like Fire Lake and stuff, is actually based off of one of the lakes in hell. I forget which one, but someone in the comments will know.
I don't research hell, so I wouldn't know offhand.
And so I think that the only thing they could have possibly done like more would just be, you know, sort of implementing the whole like how there are like multiple rings in hell. I think would have been cool.
Give it like a separate, some kind of card for each level of hell.
Well, that could be like a field spell, and like it gets counters, and each counter is kind of like you're going
a new
deeper.
level. Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, Burning Abyss is a really cool archetype, and there's actually a cool read-up someone wrote on like Reddit about the entire sort of lore behind it. But yeah, Burning Abyss is cool. Like they're not just a broken archetype. They're actually something you might want to read about. That's my number 2.
All right, and now for my last one. I kind of accidentally said it earlier, but it's Noble Knights.
Yeah, Noble Knights are awesome.
Noble Knights are hands down my favorite archetype ever created, I guess. Yeah, I can say that now.
Well, so far at least, yeah.
Yeah, so far. And that's because they're all based off of the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur, and select members of his Round Table. Not all of them, of course. They had to kind of work their way through it all, but they got a bunch of them, honestly.
I love their art. Like the swords and the art is so cool. Like I mean, I like that the monsters get good art, but the fact that the swords literally get like painted art.
Paul saw Caliburn, and I think he cardgasmed.
Yeah, like it's crazy. Those, I mean, and it's the first time Yu-Gi-Oh's really dedicated consistently good art to an archetype, because sometimes like the archetypes, like spellbooks, get that like destroyer who looks really cool, but other than that, their artwork is just kind of whatever.
So on that note, I couldn't help but notice Merlin his art was too good. Like they had good art, but his was too much.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't have been a Yu-Gi-Oh.
Noble Knights are like it's like them and Burning Abyss are really sort of the literature-based, you know, archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh. And funny enough, they're both TCG exclusives.
So I hope that keeps happening.
And my number one is actually Madolche. They're basically just a bunch of kawaii monsters that are also like snacks. And it sounds kind of childish and weird, but honestly, it's just that right level of like cute and kind of just funky and strange. Like the monster Messengelado and like Hoot Cake.
They tried very hard with those names.
Angeli and my like waifu Tiramisu. She's so good, tasty.
He admitted, guys, Paul has a waifu.
So, Madolche is my number one. I don't know, I like that they're like based off like desserts and stuff. Like, it's an archetype where you can't hate losing to it, because you're losing to pastries, you know what I mean? Or maybe that makes losing to it worse, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you don't see them too often, you can't get too mad at losing to them.
But yeah, I don't know, I think it's really cool. Like, they sort of have this whole themed world behind them where like you see like Madolche Paloozas, they're all chilling on top of like a giant cake, and like there's the Madolche mansion and the ticket, and
yeah, they live in a
or a chateau. Yeah.
Like, how do they even fight? Because they look like honestly, they remind me of strawberry shortcake.
It's just a sort of kawaii food. But that's my number one. So that concludes our top 5 coolest, favorite-ish themes for archetypes, or whatever you call it. We hope you share yours in the comments below. Yeah, list your favorites. We will respond. I thought it was a pretty interesting topic. It's a little bit different than just talking about meta. So that's the video. Remember, if you liked it, check out our channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh stuff and subscribe, because it really helps us out. And that's going to be all. So we will catch you guys later. Team APS out.